office as governor in 2023, I was confronted with a Kaduna under siege. Insecurity casts a long, dark shadow over our communities. Banditry, terrorism, kidnapping, and violent crime have become daily specters. From the Kaduna-Abuja Expressway to Bindungwari, from Chukun to Igabi, Giwa, Kachia, and across the uneasy corridors of southern parts of our dear states. Fear was rampant. Kaduna, long celebrated for its resilience and cultural vitality, was being slowly eroded by chaos. The Kaduna-Abuja highway, once vibrant artery of commerce and movement, had become a corridor of dread, a painful symbol of governmental failure. The Abuja-Kaduna train attack of 2022 remains seared into our collective consciousness as a grim testament to the depth of the security crisis. Entire communities were abandoned, markets closed, and Kaduna very spirit trembled under the weight of fear. Frankly, had we attempted to organize this conference under those conditions in May 2023, the hall would have been empty, or worse, rendered inaccessible by persistent insecurity. But we could not stand idle. We recognize instinctively that force alone, goals without governance, yields limited results. So we embrace a composite model, the Kaduna Peace model, a paradigm blend of proactive security, community engagement, dialogue, and institutional alignment. By God's grace, and with the unwavering support of President Tinubu, our fortunes began to change. We prioritized peace, reinvigorated our security agencies, empowered local vigilance groups, and engaged communities with empathy, respect, and humility. Criminal enclaves along Kaduna-Abuja highway were dismantled. Markets in Bindungwari reopened after more than a decade. And ghost towns in Chukun, Igabi, Giwa, Kachia, Zangon Katab regained life. In the south of our state, through dialogue and reconciliation, we actively laid the ground for a lasting peace. The federal government under President Tinubu leadership stood firmly with us, supported us, and stood by us. I commend the National Security Advisor, Malam Nuhur Badu, whose coordination and resolve have ensured that our security responses are both intelligent and sustained. I salute the Honorable Minister of Defense, the Honorable Minister of State for Defense, the Chief of Defense Staff, our service chiefs, and all security leaders whose courage and vigilance continue to protect our people. Their gallantry fills us with pride. Yet, we must acknowledge that insecurity is not only a failure of arms. It is born of exclusion, of educational deprivation, and of policy neglect. Long before I became governor, I emphasized that poverty is a potent instigator of instability. By the time we took office in May 2023, over 65% of our population in the Northwest in particular were financially excluded, denied access to credit, savings, and hope. In that void, extremism, criminality found fertile ground. As former chairman of the Senate Committee on Banking and Financial Institutions, I foresaw that deepening financial inclusion will be critical. I championed the Welfare Act of 2020, bringing fintech under formal regulation and laying the foundation for a digital economy. As a governor, I issue an executive order to formally integrate 2.5 million of our most vulnerable citizens into financial system. We collaborated with banks, fintechs, civil society, and global partners to preserve and expand that momentum. Financial inclusion is more than numbers. It is about dignity. It is about ensuring that a farmer in Giwa, a market woman in Kachia, and a youth in Zaria has a stake in our economy and our collective future. Indeed, at this point, I dare reiterate the fact that most of us here already know too well. Our challenges in the North today are deeply rooted issues that began decades ago. The region has suffered from years of neglect, policy inconsistency, and weak governance structures. Blaming His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who has barely been in office just 2 years ago, for the problem that have been festering for over 20 years or more, ignores the complex history and systematic failures that span multiple governments and political actors in northern Nigeria. Well, the Tinubu administration bears the responsibility to find solutions. It is unjust and politically misleading to hold the administration solely accountable for the crisis that predates the tenure of the current president.